Hey everyone, this is Nitro. In this fourth and final video on my party status update, I will be going over the physical attackers that I have, and there's actually 13 physical attackers. I thought there were a lot of intelligence-based characters, but there's even more physical attackers. So, they are Elwin, Leon, Omega, Luna, Leonhardt, Narm, Zerida, Altemuller, Matthew, Varna, Cherie, Sonya, who I use almost exclusively just for Guild Wars, Olivier, and that was the very last character. So, nonetheless, a ton of them. A ton of physical attackers that I use, right? It is a mix of ranged physical attackers as well as melee ones, but it just shows how powerful or how versatile you have to be for Ancient Beckoning and Eternal Temple and just even Guild Wars and whatnot. So, before I go over the heroes one by one though, I thought I would cover the training ground first, because there is a wide variety of soldiers that I used for these heroes. Right. First off would be the infantry training ground, which you see is not very upgraded in terms of the text. 40, 40, 40, 36. It's very minimalist. And the only soldier I have at level 10 in this training ground is the mass maids, who I maxed out very early on. No other soldier that is tier 3 is maxed out at this time. In fact, everything else is basically level 5 or not even upgraded. Dark Guards are a mere level 6. Bernhard uses them, but still, they were left at level 6 and I haven't touched them since. It's pretty rare for me to actually need Dark Guards in PvP, so that's why they're so low level. Alright, next will be the Lancer Training Ground, and the Lancer Training Ground actually isn't all that upgraded either. Just like the infantry one, it's at 40, 40, 40, 40, pretty much. And in terms of the soldiers that are maxed out, the only one is Phalanx soldiers at level 10. I started leveling heavy centurions before I stopped at level 7, right? Originally I was leveling them up for Landius, and then I realized I didn't really need them. So they've been left at level 7, and even Lava Titans are only at level 8. So not even maxed out, Stone Colossi, they can be used by a wide variety of characters as well, but they've been left at level 6. So you can see that my Lancer Training Ground is also not very upgraded at all. It is enough for PvE purposes with the Phalanx, and Lava Titans have actually been doing well enough at level 8. I do want to raise them to level 9, but it's a gold limitation at this time. Once I get enough gold, I'll probably raise the Lava Titans to level 9, just so that they burn for a bit more. The 24% versus 27%, that extra 1% of burn damage, the 25 and 24, makes a difference. So that's why I want to do that upgrade. After the Lancer Training Ground, there's the Cavalry Training Ground, and right now the only Cavalry soldier I use is Landius' Royal Cavalry. So once again, the Training Ground, not very upgraded, 36, 40, 40, 40, 40. And the Royal Cavalry are the only ones at level 10. You can see everything else is pretty much at level 5. Hellhounds are at level 6, whatever. And Dragoons were actually also initially raised to level 7. I raised them up initially for Elwin. And then once again, I realized Elwin does not need these soldiers at all. He doesn't need Dragoons to one-shot enemy Landiuses. So I abandoned that upgrade. And other than that, the Unicorns are the ones that I'm currently raising up in this training ground, and they're at level 7. So because the Unicorns will be used by Yulia. So that's why they've been prioritized for raising up. Okay, so other than this Cavalry Training Ground, we move on to the Flyer and Aquatic one. This is the one that has the most, I guess, the most soldiers that I'm kind of upgrading, but not quite either. There's only 2 that are maxed out. The first one that's maxed out is the Holy Pegasus at level 10, of course, and the second one that's maxed out is, of course, the Angels, which were used by Leon and Cherie and so on. So those two were maxed out pretty early. Other than that, I'm kind of leveling Lobster Behemoths. They've been left at level 9. I haven't brought them to level 10 because A, lack of resources, B, I realized that even at level 9, the 46% damage reduction is enough to keep them alive and tank everything. So they've been left there. And the second one that's been raised up is the Vampire Bats, which are at level 8. They stalled as well, in large part because I realized Leon can just work fine with Angels, and I don't need Vampire Bats. They were raised to level 8 because I do use them on Listel, on Altemuller, and on Sonya, but not raised any further than that, pretty much. That pretty much sums it up. And of course, the final soldier that I've been looking at leveling up is Griffin Knights, in large part because a wide variety, incredibly wide variety of characters use them. And Luna could really use them in PvP, depending on the situation. So, but once again, lack of materials, lack of gold, they've kind of stalled out for now. There's other priorities that I'm kind of leveling up, so I'll probably come back to them, but it's quite expensive to do the level 9 and level 10 upgrade when it requires 7 of 2 resources, the 9 of 2 resources. So right now, rather than upgrading these soldiers in particular, I've been kind of focusing on upgrading these techs as a result, right? While it's not as specific to each individual soldier, the fact that these upgrades applies globally to all your soldiers really helps. So I have been slowly upgrading this joint attack tech as a result, and so that's why you see that the flyer and aquatic training ground attack increase is currently 42%, as opposed to the 40% of the other ones. You know, when I get resources, I'll probably raise it up to 5, then 6, and so on, then maybe upgrade this one a few times, we'll see. So, in total though, there's basically 5 soldiers in this training ground that I really do want leveled up. Just don't have the resources yet. So we'll see how that goes. Archer and Assassin. Archer and Assassin also has a whole bunch of soldiers that you actually use. It's also my priority right now in truth is upgrading the Archer and Assassin training ground as well as the Holy and Demon ones. I'll switch to Flyer and Aquatic after these two are mostly done. So Archer and Assassin, in terms of the soldiers that are maxed out, there are 2 of them. The first one is right here, the Dark Elf Snipers. This was very recently done. I think I finished it just this week in fact. So the first month of January 2020 is when I finished these Dark Elf Snipers. The other one was done long ago, which was the Bolt Rangers. Because Bolt Rangers, that damage reduction when you're attacked keeps Tiaras alive in particular. That was my original reason for upgrading the Bolt Rangers, and they've served her incredibly well. Because Iris can also use these Bolt Rangers. I had used them on Luna when she was a Bone Knight temporarily for a while. As for Narm and Omega, they don't really use Bolt Rangers. They're more damage focused, so they don't really care about damage reduction when being attacked. Right? So, Bolt Rangers, level 10. Dark Elf Snipers, level 10. Dark Elf Snipers were leveled up for, of course, Omega for PvP and Zerida. Other than these 2, I have Sky Archers at level 9. I don't plan to make them level 10. Sky Archers at level 9 was more than enough for me to get the S rank in Hugin Munin for Ancient Beckoning, and at that point, I'd rather have these resources be committed into other upgrades. I don't particularly aim to get, top tier first, second, or third score. I just try to get S rank, and since I already have it, I'm going to abandon the Sky Archers for now. So rather than upgrading Sky Archers, as usual, I'm focusing on steadily upgrading these core attack techs, as well as this joint attack training tech. So you can see here, this currently requires 5 of these resources, but 30 books. And then this one here also requires 6 resources and 20 books. So I'm slowly kind of balancing these 2 upgrades bit by bit to increase the damage of the Dark Elf Snipers and primarily the Dark Elf Snipers. In addition to that, there are actually a few more soldiers I'm kind of leveling up. I did catapults to level 7 before I abandoned them. I realized that the damage decrease that they have is just too much. So I've kind of abandoned the catapults. Bandits were raised up because they're an alternate soldier for Zerida. And I brought them to level 8 before, once again, stalling out, right? I kind of realized that A, there is the Dark Elf Snipers as an option, and B, Zerida also has Hellfire Archers. So that's why I kind of stopped with the bandits. And yeah, so that covers the, once again, there's 5 soldiers that I'm using here. Or 5 soldiers that I've upgraded. Of those 5, I've reduced it down to 4 that I'm using, pretty much. Which is Sky Archer, Dark Elf Sniper, Bolt Ranger, and sometimes the bandits. Sometimes. So, and that's pretty much it. I know a lot of people upgrade, let's say, the Demon Hunters for Bow Knight Luna. I don't use Bow Knight Luna. I know a lot of people... I'm kind of interested in upgrading the Firebrand Snipers because of Matthew. My Matthew is a Bow Matthew, right? And for Hugin and Munin, I was considering upgrading those Firebrand Snipers further. But once again, I already got S rank. So, given the lack of resources, I'm going to pretty much abandon them. But the main reason to upgrade them was because when attacking, their attack is increased. You know. Keep that in mind, of course. High Elf can do the same on terrain, but yeah, there aren't that many soldiers that get attack increase in general for when attacking, right? The Dark Elf Snipers only apply when the enemy's at 100% hit points, so your real choices for ranged attackers anyways on Matthew is just Firebrand Sniper or High Elf, your choice, and I felt Firebrand Snipers were overall superior. Alright, but with that said, once again, hit S rank, don't need to do it. Other priorities for PvP upgrades. And finally, in the Holy and Demon Training Ground, there's 3 melee character soldiers that I use. The first, of course, is Zealots, which are not upgraded, they're not finished. I still use them even though they're level 7, right? On certain maps, for Ledin, they're great. I use them on Chris occasionally, and I am currently, in fact, using them on Yulia. So Yulia is currently using 2 different level 7 soldiers. The first is Zealots, the second is Unicorns. The second soldier that is used by melee class characters is the Skeleton Knights. And they are pretty much exclusive to Bernhard, right? As I already mentioned, Bernhard really has 3 soldier choices. The first is the Dark Guards, the second is the Skeleton Knights, and then the third is the Lava Titans. Most frequently he's using Lava Titans, but sometimes he switches to the Skeleton Knights or Dark Guards, depending on the enemies. All 3 of them though aren't very leveled up, as we just see here. But at least the Holy and Training Ground has my highest attack percentage of 54%, which helps improve them a lot more than my other soldiers. Once again, looking to upgrade them further, but just don't have the resources. And finally, the final soldier that's used is the Hellfire Archers, which are currently at level 9. They're quite good, right? They get this 34% stat increase, could be raised to 40%, and in addition, they do some fixed damage to the enemy. 15% of them hit points, mine is currently 13%. Even at level 9, they've been performing admirably. You know, so I've left them as is. The problem with using fixed damage soldiers like these guys is because there's a lot of fixed damage immunity effects in PvP. In particular, off the top of my head, things like Juggler with Great Dragon Barrier, Chloe with her Aurora Ring, and Swordsmith Medals all nullify fixed damage. Oh, and of course Meditation Ring, which is used on Yulia. So due to all these immunities to fixed damage, you know, Hellfire Archers ultimately, in the long term, aren't a great soldier choice. As a temporary choice though, you know, with the 34% all stat increase, with the 54% attack increase compared to all my other training grounds, it worked out for quite some time. But as I level up the Archer and Assassin training ground, they're definitely going to be phased out and probably replaced with the combination of Bandits or Dark Elf Snipers, depending on what I'm facing. So very much a transitional unit, so I'm going to leave them at level 9 and not raise them up any further, is my conclusion here. And that covers the physical attacker soldiers. Alright, so with the soldiers now covered, let's move in to talk about each individual hero. So we start with Elwin, who is my highest power hero out of all of my physical attackers, which ironically never sees use in almost all my battles. The main reason, even though he is my PvP party, to be fair, but most of the time he gets banned there. And in PvE content, I really just don't like his free mobility. It's that simple. Even though he has the breeze enchant, even though he has a great set of gear, I just don't like his lack of mobility for PvE purposes, so he very rarely sees use. It's kind of ironic because he is, as I mentioned, my highest power PvE hero. So he is Lancer class instead of infantry class now, because of PvP purposes. Lancer Elwin can one-shot Landius. It's just that simple. And in fact, even if you run mass-made soldiers on your Elwin, he can still one-shot Landius. Not exactly sure. I believe what happens is, because Landius is cavalry, right? They attack very quickly. So when they attack, Elwin, his strikes actually just, his personal attacks flat out don't hit the enemy cavalry soldiers. It just hits the enemy leader, since it's cavalry soldiers with a cavalry leader. Plus, you can run mass maids on him just fine. Even if all the enemy soldiers are not killed, I think Elwin still one-shots Landius with his frontal, assuming you're using frontal assault on him. If you're not using frontal assault, well, Sword Soul will apply cannot be healed effects on the enemy Landius, which makes it easy to follow up and finish him off anyways, right? So, being able to disable his passives will make him die. If you can't disable his passives, then Sword Soul will allow you to kill him off, the following turn or whatever. In terms of equipment, we already saw it. Ragnarok, Aeneas' armor, Chief's helmet, and Slayer's emblem. If there is a piece of equipment I would improve, it would be Aeneas' armor, right? Replace it with, let's say, Aeolus battle armor, so that I have a chance to reduce ranged attack damage. That would be the only replacement I would choose. As it is, though, I don't have two Aeoluses, so Aeneas' armor is fine. Ragnarok is for the fixed damage before battle. It has an enchant that could be improved, right? You do want 15% attack here, right? The Chief's helmet allows my Elwin to provide a buff to other characters, right? Preventing them from being unable to be healed, right? So that's why he has the Chief's helmet for PvP purposes. And finally, he does have a Slayer's emblem, which I personally think once again should be replaced. My personal feeling is if I can replace it, I would change it up for Apex boots, so that my Elwin would actually have 4 mobility rather than 3. But I've never picked one up yet, so I don't have a pair of Apex boots. Plus, this is his current set of gear, and you know what? It's working out more or less, so there you go. In terms of the enchants, you can see he's one of my better enchants. He has 76 attack increase. There's a maximum of 80, right? So I'm just missing 4 in total. So 2 here, this is maxed out, 1 here, and then 1 here. I don't think I'm going to aim for the 80, This 4 extra attack is so minor that it's enough to me. Hit point increases is 511. The maximum, I believe, is 750. So he has pretty solid hit point boosts as well. None of these are maxed out, but it's pretty good. There's some defense increase and some skill increase, of course. No magic defense increase. I just don't feel he can he can avoid getting one-shotted by any magic attacker that's used in PvP. So I didn't bother with that, right? Especially when his magic defense growth is just a mere C. So that's my Elwin. After Elwin, Oh, bonds-wise, of course, he should be maxed out. Let me just take a quick look. Yep, he's one of the first 4, 96% maxed out bonds. Next is to cover Leon. Leon's bonds are also maxed out, 96%. Makes sense because he's been my primary DPS character since forever. So why wouldn't I max out his bonds? In terms of power rating, he is lower than Elwin, but in large part that's because of skill selections, right? Elwin has both Sword Soul and Frontal Assault on him, right? If I simply have, let's say, Leon bring his 1000 Hooves instead of Assault, there we go. 68-55, and just like that, he passes Elwin in power. So it is what it is. In terms of Leon's utility, he is my PvE DPS character, but he's not in my PvP party at all. So in terms of the classing chance as a result, I'm actually surprised I committed this much resources into him. I think the reason I did is because I don't have that many cavalry characters. Right? There's Landius and there's Leon. I don't think I have a third cavalry character that I use. Yeah, none. So since I'm getting all these scrolls and whatnot, I figured I might as well use them to upgrade him, right? So that's why he has very high attack, 69 here, right? Near max roll here, an actual max roll there. Could re-roll for these ones, but ultimately, I mean, when I get more scrolls, I'll probably re-roll the accessory to get some more attack here. But I'll probably just ignore this. This is 3 that I'm missing. This is a bunch, to be fair. You know, this is maxed and this is 1. So, yeah. I mean, I committed resources into him clearly because I had the resources on hand to upgrade. So he has skill increase. He actually has a PvP oriented configuration, even though I don't use him for PvP. It's fine. But that's why his arena boosts aren't really rolled at all, right? Because he's not used for PvP. But most of the resources from this have gone into Landius, clearly. The irony is, even though I put much more resources into Landius than Leon, Leon actually has the better overall rolls, for whatever reason. The only one that Landius is better on is the skill, where he's just missing 1 skill, so he has 39 out of 40 here. But in terms of attack rolls, he's lower. In terms of hit point rolls, 570 I think is actually higher than Leon. Oh no, they're actually the same. So there you go. And in terms of enchants, well, defense of course, that was Landius' primary focus, so he has the better rolls. I still have 6 of these scrolls, so I could try to max out these values, but I'm effectively missing what? 3 and 2, so I'm effectively missing 5 defense. I just didn't think it was worth wasting my gold to max that out. Alright, so I kind of branched off away from Leon, but let's go back to Leon and keep covering him. In terms of equipment, his equipment has not changed for the longest time. Seal Guardian, Anasis Armor, Vampire Mask, Wingshin Guards. Could you replace the Anasis Armor? Sure. Is there any reason to? No. Because he's doing PvE content only. The only thing here I would be looking at, if I were to replace this, is to get 5% attack increase here. Right? But at the same time, the hit point increase has kept him alive for several battles, so I'm okay with the 14% and 1. Vampire Mask does have an attack increase, 4% with 7 attack. You know, there's no hit point boost at all here, because I was just going for the attack increase, and I got enough hit point boost from this Anasis Armor. Winged Shin Guards, max attack, once again, all I was looking for. And then Seal Guardian has an 11% attack with 18 attack. So you can say this is 14% attack in total, you know. He pretty much one-shots everything that I need him to. When he doesn't, he can get Attack Blessing from Tieris to one-shot it. So it works out. I don't think I've upgraded or changed Leon's enchants for a very long time. I did change the Vampire Mask just to get an attack increase, but other than that, the other 3 pieces of gear have been the same since I think March of 2019. Moving on. So, after Leon, we move on to Omega. Now, Omega is a new character. He is 6 stars for me, in large part because I drew very heavily on the Yulia and Omega banner. And I was hoping to get lots of copies of Yulia. Instead, I got lots of copies of Omega. I initially felt that was a terrible situation. I had Omega up to 5 stars, 100 out of 150 shards. So I was just like, oh my god, at that point I have no choice but to build him up, right? Yeah, as I said, I initially thought this was a terrible thing because I didn't plan to use Omega at all. But having him at 6 stars showed that he was actually very, very good for PvE content. Like, incredibly good for PvE content, as you see me use him now in a lot of videos. And for PvP, he's been working out. To be fair, in order to use him, he requires a ridiculous amount of resource commitment. You have to throw tons of resources into maxing out his skill. So in that sense, I've been re-rolling this Arena Mastery skill enchant like mad. That's why it's at 75 out of 80. Okay, I've been re-rolling his crit damage increases and crit rate, so he has an additional 10% crit chance hit. The crit damage, though, needs further re-rolling, but I don't have any of those SSR scrolls at this time. So once I get more of them, I will continue to re-roll that one. And as for his regular stat increases, and of course he has a max attack roll for the Arena Mastery stats. Yeah. So you can see I've committed tons of scrolls into upgrading my Omega. Similarly, in terms of regular upgrades, he's very, very built up, right? This is 24 out of 25. This one is 28 out of 30. So you can say both of these are pretty much maxed, right? This one is 12 out of 15, and even this one is 6 out of 10. So that's why he's at 70 attack increase out of the maximum 80. I will re-roll this one once I get more scrolls, but you can see there's no attack scrolls at this time. But even if I max this out, I think this maxes out at 10. So that gives me 4 more attack, which puts me at 74 out of 80. So you can see. But continuing on, he actually has, I think, the highest hit point boost out of any of my characters with 587. And of course, every single one has skill increase. So it's been skill, it's very straightforward for him. Attack, hit points, and skill. And that's why all 3 stats are very, very boosted up. 46 skill out of 50, 70 attack out of 80, hit points is 587 out of 750. Will I re-roll from further skill? Probably, right? This only has 1 more point, but this one has 3 more. So I do want to absolutely max it out, but keep in mind, even if I max this out, this is 4 more skill, and then this one is just 5 more skill. In total, I can get 9 more skill value on my Omega. So he is very, very close to absolute, complete maximum amount of skill increases that you can potentially get on him. Gear-wise, Uller's Bow, right? 11% attack with 18 attack. This is, I think, 14% again. Somewhere between 14 and 15% attack increase is what this is. He has a Last Rites with a 4% attack increase and 7% hit points. A King's Crown with 4% attack increase and 9% hit points. So 2 very nice enchants here. And then an Overlord's Badge with 10% attack increase, 8% crit rate. So you can see, I very, very much re-rolled Omega's enchants, everything. He had a ridiculous amount of resource commitment put into him to make him useful. And that's why his power is 6688, which is ridiculously high for an assassin. Bonds wise, Omega actually I think is missing a tiny bit. Yes, he's at 91%. The only thing he's missing is his toughness bond. 3 upgrades on this for more hit points, defense, and magic defense. I have not felt that he actually needed it. So it is what it is. You know, I have that ability to toughen him up a tiny bit more. Realistically, though, if what I've noticed with Omega is when he's at full hit points, it's very rare for him to get one-shotted due to Last Rites. When he's not at full hit points, he's guaranteed to die. It's just that simple. Moving on then. After Omega, the next melee character is Luna. Luna, 65-62 power. I've actually covered her several times before. In the case of Luna, all I focused on was increasing her magic defense. Hero bonds wise on Luna, well, she has everything maxed out except for her strength bond, which is at level 5 now. Because I started upgrading this purely because it increases skill. No other reason. And that's because I wanted to make sure Omega can't one-shot her. So that's why you see here, on the whole though, in terms of gear, Cursed Lance, Twilight Armor, King's Crown, Veil of Light for maximum magic defense increase. Now, the only thing I could consider changing is maybe this Twilight Armor, right? For example, a replacement might be the Assault Armor, which gives 10% magic defense when you're attacking. I didn't feel the 2% was worth it. Another alternative is to bring Last Rites instead for more survival, but then you lose the 8% magic defense. So overall, you can say my Luna with this Twilight Armor is just about the most offensively oriented you can get. In terms of enchants, right, the Cursed Lance has 5% magic defense, the Twilight Armor has 15% magic defense, King's Crown has 15% magic defense, and then the Veil of Light has 10% magic defense. So you can see every single piece of gear has the maximum percentage roll. The only way I can improve this is if I reroll these for magic defense increase with a magic defense flat stat increase. That is insanely hard to get, so I'm not even going to try, honestly speaking. Most of these rolls were actually, from what I remember, I used SR scrolls, not SSR, right? Because I stocked up so many crystal and hard rock and ice SR scrolls, since so few characters actually used them in my party, I was able to just keep rolling them until I got the max percentage rolls on these slots. And that's why you can see the secondary statistics tends to be very low, right? 48 hit points, 2% int, right? 2% int, 131 hit points. These aren't very high values in general. But hey, it got me what I needed. Luna, generally speaking, gets one-shotted anyways after she launches her attack, so I didn't really care about increasing her hit points, and she actually has very solid hit points in the first place, so it works out. Not much else to say about Luna. The only thing is, on my Luna, I would like to be able to get level 10 Griffin Knights so that she can rotate her soldiers depending on the opponent that I'm facing, but even Holy Pegasus is kind of working out at this time, so I'm okay with it. After Luna is then Leonhardt, and Leonhardt is actually a 5-star character for me, right? All the previous SSRs have been 6 stars. Leonhardt is a 5-star. I would love to raise him up to 6 stars. I just don't have 150 shards. Like, I don't have the time to farm 150 shards of him. And you know what? I think Leonhardt is going to be the character I'm going to remove from my Apex box soon, so I'm perfectly okay with that. Despite being at... the main drawback of him at 5 stars is that his talent requires any allies to not be within 2 blocks of him for the stat increase. At 6 stars, that decreases to within 1 block, so it's much easier to maintain that 20% additional stats. So that is the big disadvantage of Leonhardt being at 5 stars. Other than that, of course, his Act Again effect also reduces from 3 turns to 2. So these 2 bonuses really makes Leonhardt really, really good at 6 stars, and pretty good, but not absolutely amazing at 5 stars. Nonetheless, it is what it is. You know, he's working out for me. Most of the time, people ban him before I get to even pick him, and it makes sense. The Fusion Dark Emperor Sword effect is just so powerful that it makes sense that people would ban him. Yeah. The fact that it can dispel 2 buffs from enemies, as well as make them unable to receive Act Again effects, is huge. It's wild. So you can see here, I frequently use my Leonhardt this way, which is Instant Transfer, Fusion Dark Emperor Sword, and Air Slash. The Air Slash allows him to single target strike instead to make sure he kills something instead of bringing the Ethereal Fire Machete. that's how I currently use him. Is it paying off? Sometimes. You know, don't get me wrong, I do rotate in Ethereal Fire Machete depending on the opponent I face. For example, if I'm running into a Landius, there is no way I am going to bring Air Slash because I won't do any damage to Landius anyways with Leonhardt. So I would clearly bring the 2 AoE attacks in that kind of situation. Because my Leonhardt is 5 stars, in terms of gear, I currently have Bloodsword Hunting for fixed damage instead of a Balanced Blade. Right? I lose 1 AoE radius, but I get to do extra fixed damage to the enemy when I launch those AoE attacks. So I felt it was a worthwhile trade-off. Right? The only thing I really want to replace on Leonhardt is his Slayer's Emblem. Once again, I would love to be able to replace this with an Apex Boots, but I don't have a single pair. Yeah. So it is what it is. Yeah. Enase's helmet, well, it increases his survivability. Can it be replaced? Sure. You know, you can easily replace it with, let's say, a Reaper's Breath or a Chief's helmet. You know, this is performing fine. Yeah, not much else to say about that. And the Aeolus' battle armor allows him to be tankier against enemy ranged attacks. That's pretty much it. So, moving on then. So, oh, and finally, his enchant is magic because it increases AoE skill damage. Right? So, skill damage by 10%, AoE skill damage by 15%. Nice bonus there. After Leonhardt then, we move on. And the next physical damage based attacker is Narm. Narm has incredibly high power, as you see here, and I'm actually surprised she has more power than my Zerida does. Not sure what's up with that. Oh, probably because my Zerida has the wrong skill choice right now. If I change my Zerida over a little... Oh no, interesting. Narm is just more powerful than Zerida. Okay, whatever. So, you can see here, I only use Narm for Hugin Munin, but I also do use her for Autobattle and Guild Wars, right? So she pretty much just brings the skills that you see here. Roundabout, Aim, and then Deadeye. And in terms of her class enchants, attack, 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 and that's it. Okay. 1 SR attack scroll roll on each slot. You know, can I roll more? Sure, I can certainly roll some hit points for her and whatnot. But in the first place, I don't think she had any problem surviving a Hugin Munin. So all I wanted was further attack increases. So because there was only 1 SR scroll roll on each slot, the attack increase is quite low, 37, which is half of the maximum 80, but that's fine. You know, I've already S-ranked Hugin Munin, I don't really need anything further than that at the end of the day. Oh, I don't think I actually talked about Leonhardt's enchants either. So Leonhardt, yeah, I'll go back to him. So quickly, Leonhardt's enchants 480 hit points, 49 attack, 16 defense, 27 skill. You know, a bit of everything. And it's, you know, the skill increase just makes it impossible for Omega to one-shot him. That pretty much sums it up. I do probably want to reroll one of these for a skill increase scroll. But you know what? Even without the arena increase, he has 190 skill, which is solid. You know, it's very hard for him to get one-shotted. But the extra skill roll here would make it absolutely certain that he doesn't get one-shotted by Omega. Even if Omega had got plus 20% skill or whatever. But then again, with that said, I'm not sure Leonhardt stays in my party long term. So I may just leave him like this. Going back to Narm, right? Narm has her own set of gear, which is why her power is so high, but I always replace the set of gear when I use her for Hugin Munin, and she just steals Zerida's or Omega's set of gear, right? The reason she has this set of gear is because A, I leveled it up, B, I use it for, yeah, A, I leveled it up, and B, I just use it for auto-battling Guild Wars. So there you go. Lone Star Amulet, I had this built a long time ago with 10% attack with the Breeze Enchant, so I despise this piece of equipment, but I can't get rid of it because it has a good enchant and everything. Right? Twilight Armor, I think this Twilight Armor, or sorry, Twilight Helmet. The Twilight Helmet used to be on, it was a temporary piece of equipment until I got King's Crowns. So it just got thrown over to her. Right? Monkey King's Vest. I built up a level 50 Monkey King's Vest because I assumed I would need one for higher counterattack damage to the enemies. Realistically, I never picked up an Extreme Magic Bow, so no one actually needed it. So all my assassins instead now have Last Strikes, and so this Monkey King's Vest just sits on Narm. And finally, the Windcutter Dagger has a 15% attack increase and 4% hit point increase. Rolled a great roll. I think on like 1 or 2 SSR scrolls, and so it's been left like that as a result. Alright, not much else needs to be said. She just steals gear most of the time, and she uses Sky Archers. Bond-wise, Narm is relatively high, but not maxed out. 76%, right? Max on those first 3. I never unlocked her toughness bond. Wow. Interesting. Her strength bond though is at level 9 for maximum damage output, and her heart bond's at level 7. You know what? She's surviving, she's doing what I need. I don't need to upgrade it any further. You know? Yes, if I max out this heart bond, she could get 5% more stats to be a stronger DPS character. But once again, she's doing everything I need, so why would I bother to do that? And similarly for her toughness bond, she's already surviving Hugin Munin. She is not the first character in my Hugin Munin party to die. So once again, no reason to upgrade it. How many characters left to cover? Oh, Zerida, right? So Zerida, bonds-wise, Zerida is at 93%. She's only missing toughness bond upgrades. Once again, you know, expensive in gold, and she survives via last rites, so there's no priority in upgrading that. Zerida, you know what, there's so many videos of me using Zerida, I don't need to talk about her combat capability. The only thing I'll mention is I use Zerida very frequently with backstab. I know it deals fixed damage, but so many enemies underestimate a backstab Zerida that it's worth it. Occasionally, of course, I change her to the Killing Blow Bloodthirster Sly Stride version, right? But generally speaking, if I know I'm going to be able to do fixed damage to the enemy, I'll bring backstab, right? This allows her to one-shot enemy Lianas, right? Anyone with Shrine Maidens can get one-shotted by Zerida. That is the big advantage of using backstab Zerida. So, but I'll rotate her skills depending on the Apex situation. Soldiers-wise, usually Hellfire Archers for additional fixed damage. I don't think I've ever actually had to require this fixed damage to finish off the target, right? Usually the backstab damage is enough, but it's there for the Hellfire Archers for additional fixed damage. And of course, I do have the choice of switching to Dark Elf Snipers, assuming I'm not going to run backstab. So it's very much a situational choice, whether I bring Hellfire Archers or Dark Elf Snipers. Bandits have not really seen a use for me at this time. Class Enchants. Because I prioritized all my upgrades into Omega, she has far less upgrades as a result. And that is why you see here, she has 49 attack increase, 302 hit points, 32 skill, right? All the values are significantly lower across the board compared to Omega, right? I will focus on upgrading her attack further and so on, now that Omega is mostly done. But yeah, that's why she is worse off than Omega. Alright. And you know what? She's been one-shotting everything I need. So I will, of course, increase her attack further, but it's not as big of a priority. At the end of the day, the increase would be from 50 to 80. You know, 30. Don't get me wrong, 31 additional attack is significant, but it's not like the end of the world that I don't have it. She's also missing a skill roll here as an aside, and not much else needs to be said other than that. Oh, alright. And gear, quickly covering her gear, right? Bloody Melody, because I don't have an Extreme Magic Bow, 15% attack. Last Rites, 5% attack increase, 90 hit points. King's Crown, 4% attack increase, 11% hit points. And then Judge's Talisman with a 10% attack increase, 11% crits, and 8 attack. This was actually the best accessory roll I've gotten. You know, I don't have any other accessory that has the maximum attack percentage with a secondary attack increase like this. So yeah. So she's gonna just keep using this. This is like a near perfect roll. I don't see how I can. The only way I can improve this is if I got like, you know, a higher attack stat and 15% crit chance. Good luck with that. It's just unfortunate I got it on this piece of gear. I would have loved to see that on, let's say, Omegas rather than Zerida's. Moving on. So that pretty much sums up Zerida. Like, I guess the reason her power is, I'm just surprised her power is so much lower than Narm's, I have to say. Not quite sure what's up with that. She does have better enchants, and yet her power is lower. Okay. Next up is Altemuller. Altemuller was built for Ancient Beckoning. I realized I can't use Altemuller without a pair of Spirit Boots for Ancient Beckoning, so I have basically never used them as a result. In terms of bonding, because I realized I couldn't use him, I never finished up his bonds either. He is 4 stars, bond-wise, 81%, non-complete heart bond, non-complete toughness bond, although he does have the strength bond at level 9. Right? His soldier of choice, for me anyways, is the Vampire Bats that can self-heal. And my Vampire Bats, of course, were level 8, not level 10, but it works out. And is there anything else to say? I mean, I've used him a few times now in Timeless Trials, but he's not even required there. He just makes life a bit easier, but he's not required. So at the end of the day, Altemuller kind of just sits in my hero, I guess, in my hero inventory and watches everyone else fight. In terms of equipment, he does have a regular crown, fully upgraded with a breeze enchant, 3% attack, 11% defense. He does have a level 50 Slayer's emblem on him with basically a 9% attack increase and 30 hit points. I mean, I could give it to someone else, I just don't see a need at this time. There doesn't seem to be anyone that actually needs the Slayer's emblem, at least not off the top of my head. So that's why he has it. Right. Elwin already has one, and so on. And then, other than that, he has a Twilight Armor with a 6 attack increase and 1% attack. I rolled 1 scroll on it, I think, and yeah, he just uses it because it was a hand-me-down item from, I think, before I got those last rites. Right. Before I had last rites, I think Zerida was using this Twilight Armor, so yeah. Now it's on Altemuller. And finally, he has a Peacemaker with a 9% attack increase, 17 attack, and 3% hit points. This Peacemaker used to be on Elwin, right? And now it's on Altemuller. Moving on. Few more characters to cover. Jeez. How many? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 more characters to go. Ooh, this is long. Matthew. Matthew has a completely broken set of gear, and that's because he doesn't use the set in Hugin Munin. He just steals, just like Narm, he steals the set from Zerida and Omega. So right now, it's just pieces of equipment that I kept and don't want to get rid of, right? A Speed Boots with 9% attack increase, a Twilight Helmet that used to be on Luna until she got the King's Crown, a Kage Kidan uniform with a high hit point increase and 3% attack, and then that's level 20, and then Battery Destructress because I figured I should just level 1 up since I had one. That's Matthew in a nutshell, right? Skill-wise, you know, he changes up depending on the fight he uses, he appears in, but I really only use him for... What did I use him for? Eternal Temple, Hugin Munin. I think I also used him for the Scylla boss, Scylla in Eternal Temple, and Hugin Munin in Ancient Beckoning. Those are the only 2 fights that I've really used him in. He does show up for Guild Wars though. And actually, the funny thing for Guild Wars is, this set of gear, if it's a protagonist fight, is enough for him to one-shot characters. But in that case, he does replace, I think, Snipe with Faction Buff. So he brings Faction Buff, Attack Command, and Roundabout for those battles. Generally. Varna. Varna was a Season 1 PV... Actually, let me just go back to Matthew for a second to cover the bonds of Matthew and Varna. My god, this is getting long. Bonds of Matthew, 75% progress. Maximum offense, a heart bond of level 4, and a toughness bond of level 2. Like Narm, no plans to upgrade him any further. Unless I have tons of gold and Eternal Temple materials, of course. Next, Varna's bonds. She was used in Season 1 of Apex Arena for me, so I actually bonded her up basically to max at that time. Toughness bond at level 8. Right. She's used in Ancient Beckoning as well, so that's another reason why I upgraded her, because I knew she would be useful. In terms of gear, she has a set like this, but she doesn't actually use it. Once again, for Ancient Beckoning, she steals a last right from someone else, right, with the Breeze Enchant. So, and then she just gets a Breeze Enchanted weapon. I think that comes from Elwin, the Ragnarok, or the Peacemaker. Elwin's Ragnarok, or Altemuller's Peacemaker, and so on. So you can see here that I kind of have a magic enchanted set on her, and I am kind of slowly building this set up, but once again, in order for this set to actually be complete, I'd have to get rid of this Lone Star Armlet, which has that magic enchant. The irony here as well is, once again, I built this Lone Star Amulet for Leonhardt originally, and I realized just how bad the Lone Star Armlet actually is, because my characters always end up close to each other. So I removed it from Leonhardt, and now it's a spare piece of equipment once again. I have 2 of these Lone Star Armlets that nobody uses. But with this set, at the very least, she can be used for Guild Wars for auto battling. So that's why she has it. Yeah. Okay. Nearly over. After Varna is Sonya. Sonya actually has her own set of gear. It's not a complete set, but it is a set. There's a Last Night with a full moon enchant. There's a Judge's Talisman with a full moon enchant at level 20, right? But there is a 10% attack here, 4% attack, 3% attack on this Reaper's Breath, and then 2% attack on this Arcane Battle Card. Very much not complete items, but it works perfectly for Guild Wars. She's able to one-shot things in Guild Wars with this set of gear, with those level 8 Vampire Bats, right? And that's all I expect from her. So it works out well. And once she starts one-shotting things, she starts stacking these Demon Blood buffs, which makes her have more ability to one-shot the enemies. So because she's part of 3 factions, Empire, Dark, and Princess, that's why I use her for Guild Wars, and that's why she has her own kind of broken set as a result. In terms of bonding on Sonya, well, Sonya's bonds is actually a little bit upgraded because I expected her to be auto battle friendly. So that's why she has 61% on the bond upgrades you see here, right? There is 6% on the strength bond. That's pretty much it. Max, and the funny thing is this soldier bond is not maxed out, but it was still enough for her to one-shot things. So there you go. After Sonya is Cherie, who is right next to Sonya with 63% bond upgrades. Very similar kind of situation. I upgrade her enough to be able to one-shot targets, right? And that's why this strength bond is at level 5 once again. Right? And other than that, Cherie, I'm not even sure if she has her, I think she has her own set of gear. Let's take a look. She does. A Devil's Axe. Ah, that's right. So, the old Devil's Axe before I got the Ragnaroks with the Ref C enchant. She has a Gargoyle Jacket with a Ref C enchant. This was kind of funny because I think I rolled once or twice with SR scrolls and managed to get this in one go. She has a Jormungandr's Eye, level 21 once again, but it got a ridiculous roll. 13% hit points, 14% magic defense, 9 magic defense. I kind of cried when I got this roll because I was like, why did I not get this for Listel? But, you know, or why didn't I get this for Bozel on a Clocks enchant? But, you know, RNGs is coming into play. And finally, she has a level 30 Winged Shin Guard, 7% attack increase. So basically, just like Sonya, she has a set of gear that is not exactly complete, but works perfectly for her performing well in Guild Wars. And last but not least, at long last, the last character that I'm going to cover is Olivier. Olivier has single class mastery, Noble and Erebonian Prince, for the skills he needs for Ancient Beckoning. Due to lack of scrolls for archers and assassins, you can see my Olivier does not have any attack increases at this time, and only 2 hit point rolls. So I will upgrade this further in the future. But I got S rank with this kind of upgraded Olivier, so it works out. In the first place, he's primarily there to keep throwing out Excitation and Roaring Bomb, so those upgrades weren't as important. In terms of soldiers, he brings Sky Archers because they have increased damage when he does attack on those rare turns. And he does not have his own set of gear because once again, he steals the gear from Zerida or Omega. Omega, really. In terms of bonds on Olivier, 60%. Max, level 5 on toughness bond, heart bond of level 1 because it was unlocked, and somehow I never have his strength bond unlocked because I never got access to his second class. So another reason why my Olivier's damage is lower than it should be, but once again, as I keep saying, he's not primarily there to single target strike, so it all worked out. You know, I'm okay with Olivier being set up like this. Even though I have 4 runestones, I don't plan to put any into Olivier anytime soon. And there we have it. All 13 of the physical attackers that I use. It's a long list of characters. You know, a whole bunch of them only show up for 1 or 2 fights per week, which is why they don't ever show up in videos. But it works out. It works for me. In truth, I really think I should use Elwin more frequently in my videos, but I just don't I just don't like him. I don't know. I know he's a great character. I just hate his lack of mobility at the end of the day. If I have an Apex Boots that I can give Elwin, he will probably show up more frequently, but as it is, with just 3 mobility, he's not going to show up. So there we go. Thanks for watching, everyone. I hope you found this video informative and useful to you in planning out your parties. And on that note, Nitro out.